Hey there, this is Maria from English Without Fear, and today I'm going to do something different. Yes, this is not your usual content story in English for your students or for you, the student. Today I want to talk to you about English as a second language and how we teachers, we tutors, we practitioners are teaching, what method we are using, and what's wrong, what is broken. I maintain, and I want to talk to you today about this, that the way a lot of us have taught English in the past doesn't produce the results that we would like. Now, who am I? Who am I to even ask for a little bit of your time? Well, my name is Maria Cochran, and for 27 years, I was a classroom French teacher. And I also, in my spare time as a volunteer, taught English as a second language at my church. I left the classroom in March, 2.5 months ago, and have been working pretty much full-time as a retired person with my English Without Fear content videos, which I've been doing for about 18 months. But today I want to talk about what I have been observing. I used to be a traditional teacher because that's all I knew how to do. And then by God's grace, I attended a workshop about another method, using comprehensible input. And over the years, I started using that method, switching from grammar and textbook, which is the only way I knew how to teach. That's what I was taught as a language student in the education school. That's how I had been taught. That's all I knew how to do. I think that's how a lot of people teach, and I don't blame them. I'm not saying, if you're one of those, I'm not saying there's anything that you're a bad person for doing that. I just want to share with you something that works better because it's worked for me with French and it's working for me in English. And I think the traditional way of teaching ESL is broken. I know that's a bold claim to make. So just hear me out for another couple minutes, and then if you don't want to listen any further and this is not something that resonates, that's fine. I just want you to hear some hope and about something that might work, might be of benefit to you. I told you I was in the classroom teaching French as a traditional teacher for probably about 10 years before I found this other way. And it bothered me that only a few of my students were doing super well with French. They were the ones who just seemed to be talented. They worked hard and they got the A's, and it was no sweat. But then there were students who I ended up giving a B, but they really were the C and maybe high D students. But I structured my grading program with homework and with participation so that they would at least earn a B-. I mean, I cared about them, and they tried really, really hard. But what hurt me as a teacher, and maybe you can identify with this, is that, one, they didn't find success. They didn't learn to speak or feel competent with French. And worst of all, the worst thing is they just concluded, I suck at languages. I suck at French. I hate that word suck, but that's what they felt. That's what they said, and I had to agree with them because I didn't know any better. But thanks be to God, one weekend I was attending a seminar to work on my German because that's my second language, my third language, and the topic was how to teach a language using comprehensible input. At that time, the particular niche of that was TPRS, and you've probably heard of that. Well, that launched me into a different direction, and I spent the next 17 years working on that, and I was slow to change. I saw that this was a possibility, and that felt good. I could smell a whiff of success for my students, and I really had my C students in mind. That's who I wanted to help the most. Long story short, by the time I left this year teaching French in the classroom to middle schoolers, and also started my English Without Fear YouTube channel, I am certain that there is a better way, and a way that will make it easier for you, make it more fun for you as an English as a second language teacher, and also provide results for your students and make them feel good about themselves and about English. I mean, that's a win-win situation. So let me share with you a couple observations and see if they resonate with you. These I've gotten through my English experience. I was in an ESL program about 8 years ago at my church, a volunteer program, and even though I was a comprehensible input French teacher, I'm honest, I went along with the program. I thought maybe teaching English, you had to use grammar and textbooks and rules, and maybe that was the way to do it. I wasn't sure that CI, comprehensible input, works for everybody. So I did that, but it wasn't fun for me, and it wasn't very successful for my students. Fast forward to now, I'm so-called retired from the classroom teaching French. So when we moved here to Alabama, I sought out a volunteer ESL program, and I observed for 5 weeks, and I subbed for a couple weeks, and it was appalling. My heart went out to the students who weren't finding success and were being taught the traditional way because these volunteers, God bless them, don't know any better. If they did, they'd be using a different method because they want their students' success. So that, coupled with then I started tutoring on my own a Colombian woman, just using this method of comprehensible input. And I'll explain to you later in future videos how that works. I started tutoring her, working with her one-on-one, the way I taught my students in French class, using my English Without Fear content story videos. And I heard that she was going to a community college at night. In fact, she had been going to ESL classes at night 2 times a week for the last 3 years. And friends, she can't speak English. She hardly understands anything. She likes the ESL classes, but they don't work. Well, that put, what do you call it, a bug under my skin, or a hair up my derriere, if you want to be a little bit more vulgar. And I started talking with my husband. I wrote something up in an article and put it on LinkedIn. And now I just want to share this with you. So if you share any of these frustrations, one, be encouraged. You're not a bad teacher. You have your students' interests at heart. You just perhaps haven't had anybody show you and convince you that there is a better way, and it's not hard, and it's fun, and it's easy, and you don't need to buy anything. I'm telling you. Anyway, so I just want to encourage you, and in future videos, this is my plan, I want to talk about something about this, the other way, teaching through comprehensible input. I want to talk about it and give you tips and show you how you can make a change. It doesn't have to be overnight. So don't fear, don't be worried. If I can do it, an ordinary, a woman in America, a French teacher who didn't know any better, if I can do it, then I'm convinced you can too. And your students will be happier. They'll find and experience success. You'll be happier, I think. This is my claim. So bear with me. If this resonates, would you do me a favor? Would you leave a comment down below this video and tell me what frustrates you. Tell me about your hopes for your students and why you decided to teach English as a second language and help English language learners. I know you're motivated because you care. So leave me a comment, and that will help me know whether this is something I should continue and maybe consider topics I hadn't even thought about. So let me sign off. Once again, this is Maria from English Without Fear. Talk to you next time.
English Without Fear, where you can learn to speak English naturally through listening to stories.